Okay, we're on the north side of the garage. This is the electric service, electric meter, and the power is below grade. And what we're noticing here is that this box, the meter box, should be sealed on the sides and the top to help prevent moisture infiltration into the wall system. You see here that we have a grounding rod. We have a single grounding rod. If this home were built today, the new requirement is 2 grounding rods within 6 feet of each other. If I do not find a UFR inside the garage wall, then we're left with a single. Now these grounding rods are supposed to be 8 feet long. I don't know, it could be 2 4-foot rods. I have no idea. But I do know that this supposedly 8-foot rod is supposed to be buried 8 feet. It's not supposed to be buried 7 feet and 3 inches, 7 feet and 6 inches. It's supposed to be buried 8 feet. Now an electrician might be able to measure the resistance on that and prove to the code inspector that there's enough resistance so that it meets the intent. I mean, that's what happened at my house, but I was there when mine was installed. I was not here when this was installed. I have no way to know whether this grounding rod meets the proper resistance or not. I do know that according to code, this grounding rod was not sufficiently buried. But we're here for the condensing unit. It's the condensing unit today. And so we're coming over here, and the condensing unit again is on the north side of the house. And we collect a lot of different things. This is the condensing unit video. And what we've learned here is that the disconnect is over to the side. I'm going to say, if this home was built this morning like the grounding rod, if this home was built this morning, there'd be an electric receptacle outlet out here, so the technician could run a vacuum pump, or maybe he wants to braze electrically, or for whatever reason he could use electrical equipment to service tools to service this equipment. Now, like the meter, the sides and the top of this box should be sealed to help prevent moisture infiltration into the house. Now, we've got something very interesting going on here, and this is why I like to take these guys off. We've had a heat event. See the scorching in there, and see all this coming off, and then somebody's taped this up to make repairs, and then the electric conduit is loose. It's loose from the box. That should have been sealed up better. This wiring should be replaced. This wiring should be replaced. And speaking of replace, as far as the Texas Real Estate Commission is concerned, condensing unit, air conditioning system, if you will, is either off or it's on. Is it performing the function for which it's intended? Or is it in need of repair? Or was it not installed properly? Or is it a safety issue? But age does not count, does not play into the Texas Real Estate Commission. My clients want to know. My client might want to know. Hang on. Let me dig it out. My client might want to know that this unit, okay, is 19 years old. This equipment is engineered on paper to last 20 years. It might last 35. But Las Vegas, the statistical odds are that this equipment lasts about 14 years. After 14 years, this equipment's done everything and anything you would ever expect it to do. It's exceeded its economic life average. And it might be working. It's going to be difficult to tell on a cool day like today. I'm in a jacket, okay? So it's going to be difficult to tell, but it's either working or it's not. They don't care that it's 19 years old, and they usually last about 14. Another thing that the Texas Real Estate Commission doesn't care about currently is that this is the refrigerant inside of this system is R22. It's an antiquated old refrigerant, no longer manufactured in the United States legally, no longer imported legally into the United States. Is there stockpiles of it? You bet. Yeah, there's stockpiles. Is it expensive? It's expensive too. It is. And they also sell stuff called drop-ins or alternative refrigerants. But at this age, this unit is only running at about a SEER, and the Texas Real Estate Commission doesn't care about SEER either. It's only running at about a SEER 10. The newer units are running at a minimum of 14 and above. 14.5 is not unusual for a baseline economy level condensing unit. So this unit's already not efficient. You put a drop in, most technicians probably don't want to follow another technician that put a drop-in refrigerant, which is also expensive and even less energy efficient than this. And that you might as well, if somebody if somebody coerces you, convinces you, helps you decide to put a drop-in, well, you might as well put that guy on payroll, because nobody's going to want to follow him. But just about any technician that comes out here to service this is going to tell you, my dear client, or she, there's female technicians, and the technician's going to encourage you, and rightfully so, encourage you that it's time to update, it's time to upgrade. You get a nice new system that has the 410 in it, for example, and there's a couple others, but the 410 system, it's going to run a lot more efficiently. It's going to be a lot cooler. Your house is going to be in better shape, and you're not going to be servicing it all the time. At least for about 14 years, I guess. You're not going to be servicing it all the time. So that's something to keep in mind. This is an R22 system. The system is 19 years old. About any technician is going to encourage you. Okay. The manufacturer is like about 12 inches of distance between the condensing units and the walls. There's a little bit of leeway, I suppose, because it's a circular system instead of one of those blocks. But when you put a block system in, you need to be aware of that. It looks like there used to be a block system in here, and see how it headed over to the edge. That is way over too close. Well, look what's happening here with your circulation. You got dirty coils. Dirty coils right there. And there's our data plate. You can hardly read it. Okay, now when this system was installed, this insulation was okay. This insulation cracks and peels and gets brittle, falls apart. The newer stuff is a lot more robust. So this doesn't meet current energy codes. Of course, again, that's current energy codes. That's why it's making the report. But you can't blame the technician for not installing something that wasn't even present, didn't even exist when this was installed. Another thing that didn't exist when this system was installed, I don't think, was anti-theft Schrader valve caps. Look that up in the dictionary. Those Schrader valve caps. Those are, it keeps kids from, huffing the refrigerant, keeps people from stealing it. Remember, this is R22. This stuff is gold. The refrigerant in here is worth more than the unit. But this is an older system, and it's the inspector's reasonable opinion that it would be prudent to budget for replacement. We got some vent coils in here, and again, I said this is this is organic. This is organic, so we're going to go here just a little farther. While we're here in this one area, this is the overflow drain for the water heater. That tells us two things. One, the safety pan doesn't come out, if there is one. And this pipe, the water that comes out of this comes out at 200 pounds of pressure at 200 degrees. It's just blowing steam. It's supposed to terminate closer to the ground than that. It's supposed to terminate between 6 inches and 3 inches to the ground. Not so close that it causes blowback, but not so far that it could spray out. This is a walkway. And not so close, not so far that it could cause damage to somebody walking down this walkway. And that's for the water heater. Okay? Let's go to the clothes dryer. Oh, back to the air conditioner. I don't mean to yank you around, but see that pipe right there? Well, see the rust around it? Well, that means rusty water's been coming out of that. And that pipe is the secondary drain line. It's the drain line for the safety pan, the second drain line for the safety pan. So that if the primary gets clogged, then the water comes out, and it comes out over a window. And in theory, you can look out the window. In theory, you can look out the window and you can see the water coming down. And when you do see the water coming down, you know that you have a problem. You know that you got a problem. And then we go to the water heater. And then we go to the clothes dryer. That's the clothes dryer vent right there, that little bonnet. Those vents no longer meet the requirements. Those are passive. We call those bird houses. That's about all they're good for. They get clogged. No, you're supposed to have a clothes dryer vent with a back draft flap on it. You're not supposed to have an with a backdraft flap on it. It's not supposed to have an open vent like that. And then we're going to go just one more thing while we're doing this, is that this conduit right here, this piping, okay, that's the control wires to the lawn sprinkler system. And yard people have come in and weed whacked, and you can tell how they kind of been beating up this telephone. I don't do telephone. The Verizon, I don't do Verizon. Okay, but the lawn sprinkler system, they beat this up. So now the water can go down into that pipe, into your electrical system, into your lawn sprinkler system, and it causes you some maintenance issues. So that's what it is. So what did we learn? We learned our control conduit for the sprinkler system is broken. We learned that our clothes dryer vent does not have a backdraft on it. We learned that our water heater discharges too high from the ground. We also learned that our evaporator coil has got some rust around it. It's in the good place. It's in a good place. You can see the rust right there on the brick there where it's happened a little bit. We learned that our disconnect should have been sealed. We learned that some of our disconnect cables have been overheating. We learned that our conduit to the disconnect is loose. We learned that our coils are dirty. We learned that we do not have an electric service receptacle outlet out here. We learned that we've got the wrong kind of foam. We don't have anti-theft Schrader valves. We learned that some of our damage is impact damage on the coils, but we also learned that we've got dirty coils because the unit is too close. We learned that this unit is 19 years old and that it's R22. We also learned that our electric service panel, our electric meter box, should be sealed on 3 sides like the disconnect should be. We learned that we only have one grounding rod visible, and we also learned that that grounding rod was not properly